The year is 1992. Our favorite lieutenant has been on the air for 24 years in a total of 59 mysteries. Columbo, and its famous inverted mystery format, is a television institution. But in any long-running TV series, there are bound to be installments that try to push the limits to explore what the show is or what it could be. This phenomenon can give us little gems like The Sopranos' The Test Dream, where Tony takes a break from mob violence, checks into a hotel, and has an episode-long dream. When done right, this kind of experimentation allows us to enjoy a great show in a whole new way, to see our favorite characters in an unexpected and refreshing light. But when it's done wrong, when the creative team just isn't up to the challenge, we can get an all-time stink bomb. Today on Echoes of Columbo, we explore the least watched, worst reviewed, most universally hated. But wait a minute, that's not what we're all about here, baby. We dig deeper. So we'll look at the flaws, but also why you should make time for the one nobody has any time for: No Time to Die. Yep, the creatively destitute James Bond franchise stole its latest title from every fan's least favorite Columbo episode. No one likes No Time to Die. Columbo Under Glass ranks it dead last, classifying it and its spiritual partner Undercover as not poor, not bad, but not Columbo. The story is unlike anything we've seen before. Columbo attends his nephew Andy's wedding to beautiful model Melissa, but the bride is kidnapped from the honeymoon suite by a scalpel-wielding psycho who plans to marry her himself, forcibly consummate their union, murder her, and commit suicide. The lieutenant, wearing a raincoat over his tuxedo, rallies the troops to interview junkies, janitors, and auto dealers before time runs out. What madness is this? How could Peter Falk, the guardian of the show, have allowed this to happen? Turns out, it was almost entirely his idea. Sheldon Katz's Columbo Under Glass and David Koenig's Shooting Columbo provide all the background you'll need on this. And unlike certain blogs, which review a book in one post and regurgitate information from it without any credit or citation in the next, I'll just say, get these books and read them.
You're not gonna get away with that, come on!
Suffice it to say that No Time to Die is adapted from distinctly non-Columbo source material, namely the 1976 novel So Long as You Both Shall Live by Ed McBain. Apparently, Falk wanted to experiment here to see if the beloved character could support an entirely different kind of program. No episode would deviate from the classic formula as far as this one. Falk brought in Robert Van Scoik, who wrote Season 7's Murder Under Glass, to tackle the challenge of inserting the lieutenant into this kind of psycho-stalker scenario. So I did what Van Scoik probably did. I bought and read the book, which is a quick, engaging, well-written crime story. The overall plot, clues, and story beats of No Time to Die are nearly identical to the source. Columbo himself replaces two characters, Detective Steve Carella, and Ollie Weeks, an obnoxious racist who does a W.C. Fields impression, which is an echo if I've ever heard one.
I wonder how W.C. Fields did it.
A lot of the dialogue is lifted directly from the book. For instance, this
Just a routine investigation, Bill.
sounds like a typical Columbo line, but is straight from McBain. Some character names are changed. The villain goes from Klaus Scheiner to Rudy Strasser. The photographer Alexander Pike becomes Alex Varick. The bride Augusta becomes Melissa. And inexplicably, the informant Fats becomes Tubby.
When did you change your name?
Suspect Albert Bryce from the book becomes Albert Wagner, a name the Columbo team must really have liked.
Mr. Wagner! Sir!
Others, like Bill Bailey the cleaning guy, the Arabian Nights sauna, and Ramsey College, are unchanged. Van Scoik makes other interesting decisions in his adaptation. For instance, McBain has Steve Carella go downstairs, find the bride's shoe, go outside, and talk to the janitor, whereas Columbo goes down the stairs, finds the shoe, goes back up,
Let's get back to the room.
has an exchange with the groom lifted from later in the book, then goes outside and talks to the janitor. The killer's lair becomes an isolated shack instead of a vacant apartment, and rather than the entire place being a shrine to Melissa, we get one room with a slideshow playing. In the book, progress in the investigation comes as a result of standard police procedure, but the episode bends over backwards, ham-handedly creating little moments of inspiration so Columbo can take center stage. Like Melissa's "Be My Guest" message to Andy gives Columbo the idea of checking out the wedding guests, or how the picture of Melissa's family directs Columbo to the wedding photographer. I quickly realized that all the best stuff in the episode is McBain's.
McBain.
In the book, we're privy to the bride's thoughts as she makes her escape attempt, but the show has Melissa talking to herself, kind of an awkward device.
Let's see about this window.
The novel has some surprisingly gritty moments, but the episode cuts most of the drug content and vulgar language, and all of the racism and sexual content. But that isn't to say the episode is without its sexual elements.
Don't rush it.
Oh yeah, slow things down.
Take the time. More oil, Melissa.
Oh, let's get some more oil on there, baby.
Come on, baby.
Most importantly, the novel has the cops shoot the villain twice and he survives.
Nobody kills him. He lives.
While here, famously, the groom pegs him 4 times and he dies. No, you don't kill the bad guy at the end of Columbo. Columbo doesn't hold a gun. The very idea is preposterous. And that's the core of the episode's infamy. It's too different. It doesn't feel like the show we love. Unfortunately, the show's brain trust by this time is past its creative peak. They're not up to the challenge of such a radical departure. Our director is Alan J. Levi, who helmed 3 Columbos: Uneasy Lies the Crown, Columbo and the Murder of a Rock Star, and No Time to Die. He distinguishes himself in none of them. For every cool moment, like Columbo in the alleyway, or nicely managed scene like the reception, there's an excruciatingly long, static medium shot. Rather than looking like a psychological thriller or horror movie, this mostly looks like an episode of Seinfeld. As we build toward the climax, Levi's direction short-circuits any tension. Do we really need Columbo looking around, then slow pan to this guy, then slow pan over to that guy? How about the music? Patrick Williams can always deliver unique, memorable themes. Here, he just doesn't. Some sections sound like they're lifted straight out of How to Dial a Murder. And his light, bouncy material, which works so well in Murder, Smoke, and Shadows, is completely out of place at the end of a tense denouement. Imagine how a more serious tone to the music could have improved things here. That leaves us with the star. More than ever, we needed a great Columbo performance to provide an anchor, and Peter Falk just couldn't do it. The scene where he bursts into the editor's office could be a classic, like when he shops for modern art.
Now this here, I see it doesn't have a title.
But it's just not good. Or when he gives his speech at the wedding, it could be a great speech like at the ladies' club, but it's poor.
She's just special.
And we're suddenly asked to invest in characters we've never met before. Do we really care about Andy outside of his relationship with Columbo? The supporting cop characters are okay, but we don't want to watch them investigate. Why couldn't it be Columbo going into the sauna? Imagine he walks in there in full trench coat. So the failure of No Time to Die is not that it shakes up the show's conventions, but that it ineptly handles the attempt. It makes the creators look incompetent rather than bold and daring. So why would a fan even bother to watch this abomination? First, as I've already outlined, is following the process of how the novel was adapted for the screen. Reading the book may not make you appreciate the episode more, but it gives even a long-term Columboneer new material to think about. Second is pure shock value. Die-hard fans know what the deal is with this one, but have fun with it. If you're shepherding a new fan through the show, hook them with the good episodes and then at an opportune moment blast them with this one. They won't believe what they're seeing. In fact, it might take them a while to realize that the episode is barreling into completely unexpected territory. And that's the third and most important reason to watch. The fact that somewhere in here is a good Columbo episode struggling to assert itself. How crazy is it that we see one of the lieutenant's relatives, albeit one he's never mentioned before, or that he references an apparently deceased sister?
If my sister Mary and your father Dan was still with us.
In Lovely But Lethal, he mentions a brother-in-law named George.
Run into George. He's my brother-in-law. Just back from Mexico today.
Does this mean Columbo has 2 sisters, one married to George, one married to Dan? Maybe one sister who was married twice? Or was George from Lovely But Lethal just made up? This all seems like a throwaway line, but it makes you think. And then there's the bride's mother, who, when we first see her, might easily be mistaken for a shocking first glimpse of Mrs. Columbo. In the novel, the bride's parents are never seen, although it's mentioned that her father owns a paper mill. Here, Melissa's father, Sheldon Hayes, owns a string of shopping malls and is played by the most famous guest actor in the episode, Donald Moffat. He certainly seems like the typical Columbo villain, and the script drops abundant clues that this guy is up to something involving his ill, unsteady wife.
It's way past your bedtime. Remember what the doctor said.
That medication is a nuisance.
Yes, dear.
Why is Hayes so insistent on establishing his wife's whereabouts?
Your mother's upstairs resting.
My wife overdid it tonight. She's extremely unwell.
Why is he so suspiciously establishing his own whereabouts late into the night?
He's quite a guy. Great talker. I couldn't get away from him.
We may assume that Melissa has been kidnapped, but we don't actually see it happen. Is she somehow in on it? Is that why Columbo was so stingy with his praise earlier?
Well, she's just special.
This could all very easily be an elaborate scheme by Hayes to do away with his wife, the whole thing depending on an intricate timeline and precise navigation of the hotel. Yet both characters basically disappear. Why bring in a great actor like Donald Moffat and relegate him to the sidelines?
I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this f***ing couch!
Or is the groom Columbo's own nephew secretly in on it? Andy certainly seems less than stable himself. He did kill that one guy.
Andy blew a guy away a few years ago, and I had to shoot him.
And he's singing the same song non-stop, rambling insanely in the shower.
No, nobody can deny that I'm a jolly good fellow. Oh yes, I am.
That song does sound familiar though.
For he's a jolly good undertaker. This no one who dies can deny.
He also makes suspiciously sure that Strassa dies at the end. You see, the first 20-some minutes of No Time to Die are not that bad. The part where Columbo wanders through the shadowy alley, filmed with a handheld camera, is very unlike what we normally see. And then the filthy kitchen, so different from the elegant surroundings in Van Scoyke's other episode. I love the time being typed out on the screen. It shows you that something is percolating. There's a good variety of supporting characters. It's really building momentum. And then we see Melissa bound and gagged in the dark, and we realize, oh no, this is the scenario we're going to be stuck with for the next 70 minutes. When No Time to Die loses it, it does so in a big way. But we already know all that. As detested as it is, this one gives us a very important question to ponder. Does Columbo the show need the formula to be good? Based on No Time to Die and others that really meddle with the show's conventions, like Undercover and Last Salute to the Commodore, I'd have to say that the best ones are the traditional Columbo episodes. The failure of the No Time to Die experiment tarnishes the entire late period of the show. With a few exceptions, Columbo never recovered. These are the last 10 episodes, and dang, what a sorry tale. Half of these are so bad, you could say they're the worst 5 entries in the series. So, is this truly the worst episode of Columbo?
You could make the argument.
Maybe, but to me, it's more fascinating in its failure than others are in their sheer mediocrity.
You get all sorts of cases, don't you?
As Dale Kingston observed all those years ago, yes, the lieutenant does get all sorts of cases. And here is one. Maybe not one we ever wanted to see, but for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, No Time to Die will always be with us, so long as we all shall live.
What time is it?